Good morning, Jody. Wendy. How are you? Let's see, who else can be fun to turn the camera on today? Mike Rivers, I can always count on you. Michael, Andrea, Colleen, Gwen. I hear that. Here we all come. All right, so another fun session of objection handling. So as we kick it off today, who has a scenario that they would like to share? Gwen.
Okay, so I have a past client. I sold them an investment property a handful of years ago. And last year they decided they wanted to sell it. And I helped them do some minor renovations to the property and to heavily stage it. And we got a significant increase on the listing price. A couple of months ago, they decided that they were going to get a divorce, and so they were going to list their house. They called me. Actually, they sent me a text message and said that they wanted to sell the house. So I made an appointment to go over there, and I had no idea I was competing for this. And they didn't want a proposal from anyone. They didn't want anyone to present anything to them. They wanted everything submitted by email. They allowed everyone a half an hour to walk through the house and then to submit what they wanted to submit. So I did. And, it wasn't a good sign. They were inviting other people. One of them was a Compass agent. So I gave them a price of $960, knowing that they wanted to be a little over $1 million. I didn't have comps to support it, but I went as far as I thought I could. They gave it to the other Compass agent, and he listed it for $1.3 million. They took three price reductions, and sold it just a smidgen over $1 million, dual agency. What could I have done differently?
Well, first, Andrea, are you here?
I am.
Andrea has a lot of experiences during divorces. So can you help her understand kind of how the divorce process is a little different than a normal sales process?
So that's a lot more than we actually have time for on the call. But in short, when you sold them the house, I'm sorry, Gwen, when you
Yes.
sold them the house, they trusted each other. They were, skipping along holding hands down the road, right?
Right. Mhm.
So when they're divorcing, they can't agree on what day of the week it is, which is like an indisputable fact, right?
Mhm.
So that's one problem. And since they can't agree on everything, every single position is open for argument.
Mhm.
So when my guess is when they had you should have been a neutral because they knew you from before, unless you were like her best friend or something.
Neither. Yeah.
But since you weren't, my guess is they were thinking to themselves, well, I've got all this equity and I have this income, and now the same income has to go to sustain two households. We need to get as much money as humanly possible from this house. So the biggest liar won. And sometimes that sucks.
Mhm. And then they took 3 price reductions and sold it themselves. That seems like a conflict of interest to me, but
Oh, for sure. So one of like the first thing is that you should be a neutral and represent both parties equally. But how can you be a neutral and represent the two separating couples when you've got another party involved too? How do you have their back equally? So whoever that was, that's not how I would have handled it, and that's not how it should be handled. But most people don't know that and don't know what I know.
when you say that's not how I would have handled it, handle it, is that on my part or their part?
The part of the agent who double-ended it.
Okay.
So sometimes you lose the deal, but don't lose the lesson. So you at some point did know that it was they were divorcing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in my case, because I have the training that I have, I would have said, I would caution you and about an agent who is willing to double end a listing, because it's a conflict of interest, but it's also a conflict within the transaction.
I didn't have the benefit of talking to them after they sent me an email saying, sorry, you didn't get it. We gave it to somebody else. I
Yeah.
talked to the husband after the house was sold because he called me to help him find another house.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I didn't have any communication with them during the period of time. And I mean, in this market, it sat in a very desirable area for 30 days. And, it was definitely the wrong price. I'm not sure why they picked this agent.
Nice. Everyone,
Sure.
when you see 960 and 1.3 million, that's a 300,000+ difference, right? So couple things from my perspective and just hearing this, right? There's triggers to make you realize things are different, right? So once they sent you a text message and they normally called you, like that's sign number one, right? When they asked for written proposals, did you add a written marketing plan, a written communication plan, and all those other things?
Yes. Mhm.
Perfect. So then, in terms of price, sometimes you lose and you can be okay losing, right? And in this case, things about divorce, which makes pricing a little more unique in this, is to Andrew's point. And Andrew, thank you for sharing all that information. Is you have two people that can't agree that this color is black, right? Like it's black, it's a gradient. Once people get divorced, you don't see the world through the same eyes, right? So they have to sell the property. So it's very common. I've seen in my experience, and Andrea's specializes in this niche, but people overprice divorce houses a lot and then they just drop the price, right? It's a process, not an event. But the interesting part about this is the husband reached out to you after to buy a house.
Right.
So did you ask him what made you not choose me, or you just took the buy side and just kind of let sleeping dogs lie?
No, I asked him and he said, I fought for you, but, his wife wanted to go with somebody that they hadn't done business with before.
So is that an objection or a condition?
Condition.
Bingo. There you go.
So is there anything else that I could have done to change the condition?
You can't, a condition is
I
not
know,
changeable.
I know. That's why I said it's like this.
I would say yes, if you had access to speak to them. If
Mhm.
you
Yeah, if you could have a conversation, sure, but not in this situation.
correct,
Right.
maybe you include as your cover letter a video from you,
Mhm.
and that would be a point of differentiation.
Mhm.
But you always want to be neutral. And basically what she said was, I want to do business with somebody we haven't worked with before. I want a neutral. That's what she said.
Mhm.
So the fact that he called you tells me that he felt you as an ally,
Mhm.
and she wanted somebody who was a neutral.
Mhm.
You got to be Switzerland in divorce.
Yeah, well, I didn't feel like I had leaned one way or the other, but
But she's not feeling trusting,
mhm.
right? So it doesn't matter. You could have been the only, five-legged horse in a race, and you still wouldn't have won
Right.
because you knew her.
And
So
the reality to piggyback, and then we're gonna go on to the next one, is this, because we could go in this rabbit hole for shoulda, woulda, coulda forever. In the end, in divorce, what one party wants, the other person doesn't want, right? So the fact that he was advocating for you made, you ever hear the saying casualty of war? Like that's just, it is what it is, right? And sometimes the best thing you can do is learn the little things you can learn, and also know when you put your best foot forward, you put your best foot forward. And, I said to my niece yesterday, she likes asking me for like little pep talks and things. I said, there's no losing. Losing is only if you stop and you quit, right? But there's all these different lessons that we can gain in when things don't go our way, right? So being strategic is learning a lesson and moving on, right? When you have a situation, like a financial situation, in most cases should be dictated by logic and numbers, right? Divorces are dictated by emotion and the ability to not want to get it right is to be right. Right. And sometimes being in the middle of this, it's messy. And it's why there are people that have like niches in this. So, look, at the end of it, I would say that you did a good enough job because the gentleman still reached out to you to buy a house. Right.
And you were fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah. So in terms of like, change it or keep it, like you could have sent a cover letter, but look, you also have to realize when you've done this much business with somebody and this happens, you're very taken aback.
Right.
Right. And also just realize like their shit is not your shit. Right. Like I don't mean to be vulgar or anything, but it's the truth.
Mhm. Should I have insisted on an audience with them before I submitted my proposal? Or was that
Tried.
not going to happen?
Listen, you could have said, hey, look, I really respect this. I want to understand your situation better and how I can be most helpful to both of you in this process. And given our relationship, I'd love the opportunity for a 10 or 15-minute conversation.
Right.
Right. And that's it. The worst thing is they say no, and you're in the same place you started.
I thought I had one. I mean, when I arrived to go through their house to see what they have done, what they had changed, I expected them both to be there for a certain period of time and they weren't. And then I said, do you want to go through the proposal? And she said, no, just send it.
Exactly.
I was off the list right from the beginning. I mean, I could tell by her.
Yeah.
that
He brought you there because he wanted you there. She brought someone else and she's going to be there. And in the end, Andrea, and then we're gonna close the loop on this.
And the more the husband pushed, the more she dug her heels in. Pushed for you, the more she dug her heels in away from you. There's literally nothing you could have done.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just
Thanks.
take back. I will applaud you. You still got a sale out of it, so you still won. Mike and then Arash.
I was just going to say, I mean, obviously you're in a tough spot there, but if this wasn't a divorce situation, if someone just asked you to submit your presentation without, wanting to, some people just don't deal well with like being sold on things. I think you could try to get the Med C out of them or some kind of Med C out of them via email first. And then I think Andrea's point about making a video and just put yourself in front of them anyway. Give them the listing presentation as a PDF attachment and then get on video studio and explain, here's a situation. I'd love to sit down with you if I get the opportunity, but I'm assuming, you want to see a high price point. Give them the choices of following the market or setting the market and let them know that you're happy to do whatever they want to do. And then on top of that, I just think putting it back in their hands, but putting yourself on video in front of them is probably the best way forward there if you're not able to actually get in front of them in person, and just giving them the choice and say, hey, I have a feeling you're probably just looking for the highest, whoever gives you the highest price, and you're going to reduce or deduct the commission from that price and go with that agent. If that's the case, we're happy to put it on private exclusive if you want to test out a really aggressive price, and then we can drop it that way. Just kind of give them as many options as you can on the video, and then attach your pitch book and just pray it works out.
Okay, thank you.
Arash.
I have a new topic, if that's okay. I'm dealing with a seller whose communication is very disrespectful. My wife is my real estate partner. She finds it very offensive. I managed talent for 20 years. I find it very on brand, right? I think it's kind of normal to me just because that's how talent used to speak to their agents. But, he's a bit of a man-child. He's a guy I knew from high school. He smokes a lot of weed. We had to wake him up at 11 a.m. when the stagers and the cleaners came. He's just very difficult. The listing goes.
Adult.
Huh?
He's not a functional adult.
He's not a functional adult. I am more empathetic to him because he's going through a divorce, and I think he's, I don't know, going through something. My wife wants to maybe pull the listing, and it's a hot listing. It's going live Thursday. It's in a great area. It's going to $1 million townhouse outside of the DC area. and we've already paid for staging. She just doesn't want any communication with him. And I'm trying to tell her in a way, kind of what you know, to your point, his shit is not our shit, for lack of a better word. And so I'm kind of stuck in how to proceed.
Well, all right, so a couple questions. Number
Because
one,
everything we ask him to do, he does, but it's like we have to, I don't know, really
yeah,
push
it's
him
like,
along.
it's like he's your child.
Yeah.
So number one, sometimes it's a kind of like what you sign up for, right? And I don't know if you guys went through a written communication plan, but it sounds like no matter what you did, he's a special kind of person that says yes to everything, and when it comes time to do it, there's always a problem.
Yeah.
What is the communication style or way he's communicating that makes your wife feel disrespected?
When we asked him to hire cleaners, for example, which, you know, we already hired cleaners, but we said the day before showing start, can you please hire your cleaners to clean and organize the place? Because the day after we had cleaners come, he just kind of messed up the place a bit. He's very messy. He just writes a one-word message back like, it's on you. You do it.
Okay, so he's really communicating his expectation of service,
Yeah.
right? And it comes down to a simple thing. Do you want to, will this listing sell quickly?
I think so. Yeah.
So then look, maybe it's good to loop your wife out of this, right? If she's not okay with this and you seem okay with this.
Yeah.
I don't know how the extent of the relationship, but it's a good thing. Is there going back? It's like, you know, the saying, knowing what I now know today, what would I have done differently? Did you know that he was going to be like this when you saw?
No, I had no idea he was going to be like this. He's generally in person not a bad guy, but you know, for example, this morning, my wife sent him a message to order the HOA docs and explain to him how it works in the state of Maryland, where we're selling it, and the number of days a buyer has to review HOA docs. And he wrote a one-word line, right? When you sell it, I will order them.
So look,
So yeah, so I'm not offended so much as I'm just like, that's how he is.
yeah, but here's the thing, you can't run a business like that,
Yeah.
right? And there's more, I would say, than like, if you accept this, your wife sounds like she's gonna be disappointed that you even went along with it, right? So it becomes a standard of business, because now here's a ripple effect, right? If you're supposed to have these docs and a buyer wants the docs and now he's ordering it and everything else, how does that make you and your brand?
Bad, yeah. It makes us look disorganized because that's off brand.
That's not the business you run. You're very, like, you tell by the way that you're dressed and the way that you present yourself, and you're well spoken. You're an organized, well put together gentleman. So look, you can get on the phone with him and also just tell him, like, it's a partnership. There's certain things as the owner that you have to do. And if you're incapable of doing them, then that's going to make a problem for you and for us, right? And to buyers, you just have to be transparent that says, you know, my client's not going to have the docs till this date, right? And maybe you set an in-person meeting and just kind of ask them, like, what's going on? Like, we're trying to help you. We're trying to get you not to, like, not help yourself, right? Are these things that you can order for him, or things that he just needs to sign a piece of paper? Like,
He
what
has
is
to
his?
pay for them, and you know, in order to get them.
Sounds like paying for anything is a challenge for him.
Yeah, I think so. You know, we put together a punch list of items that we suggested that he do because we didn't want him to leave any money off the table, as we told him. And he just comes back with, you guys are always telling me what to do. We do it in a very respectful way, right? But I've never had a client like this before. It's strange.
It happens, you know, and again, the same thing with Gwen. It's like knowing about this stuff. It's hard because people portray themselves one way, and look, it's just, if the guy always has been like this, divorced, does he have kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, it has weird effects on people.
My wife said we should give him an ultimatum and say, if he continues to communicate like this, we can't work with him, and I'm like, what's that going to do? That's just going to trigger him. Right? Because you do teach people how to treat you. That's what, you know, the adage is. But I don't think we'll change this person.
I don't know, but you also have a longer relationship with him, right? And if you're going to keep the relationship, since
No,
this-
I have no desire. I mean, it's just someone I know from high school. It's not.
well,
it's not-
here's the thing. If I were you, I would be the primary communicator. You have a
Yeah,
high
I am.
tolerance for
Yeah.
this, right? And just get your wife out of it. Happy life is a happy life, right? So, like in the end of the day, what you really don't want is on your family time and times that you're with your wife to be pissed at you and wasting your personal time talking about this guy.
Yeah.
Right. It is like someone's trying to do a job and help you, and your answer is like, when I sell it, I'll pay for it then. Like that's not a business transaction.
No. Shrug, it's Colleen. He sounds like a pothead, right? And we know about somebody who's a pothead or a drunk.
Yeah.
They'll take advantage of you if he is, right? You said he smokes pot
I mean,
all the
from
time.
the smell in the house. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's not recreate. That's just like, we had to air out the garage.
Yeah, I know that smell. I've
Yeah.
been through that with houses. But yeah, boundaries. I mean, anytime there's some kind of, if it is an addiction, you need to set boundaries with them. And like you could say it nice to you. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not how it works. According to the condo association, you have to pay for that.
Yeah.
So can you please order it so we can get your house sold? Boom.
Okay.
The only other thing you could do is you could order them, but then you're just letting him control you.
Yeah. I mean, it's strange. There's a cost of $477 to order them. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's weird. I've never heard of that. Where is this? What town? What's it?
North Bethesda, Maryland, right
Oh,
outside.
no. Yeah, we're in Massachusetts. We
Yeah.
don't have to pay for
Yeah.
them. But they have to be, you have to give them because most buyers want to see them before
Yeah.
they sign the purchase and sale.
Yeah.
Anyway, empathize. It's a tough situation when you're dealing with someone like that.
Chirag, to your point, and thank you for that help. Should I have a meeting with him? I have to meet with him to get the disclosures. Should I have a conversation about being partners in this together?
Yeah, exactly. You say, look, just ask him, like, what is your goal in selling this property, and see what he says, right? Is it just to get it done? Are you feeling like it's something you don't want to deal with, something you don't want to do?
To get as much money as possible. That's what he said. Because he has to pay, I think, a portion of the proceeds to his ex-wife.
Exactly. So there's already a bad attitude. This is Jerry Maguire. Help me help you. If that's what you want, then here's the things I need you to do. And if you're not going to do those things, it's going to impact your amount of money that you're going to get in the end. And the choice is yours. If you don't want to order the condo docs, fine. But when a buyer may pull out, you may lose an offer, and you're going to have all these issues because you don't want to do it. Great. That's not something I can control. If you don't want to clean your house and leave it messy, do you think someone's going to pay more money or less money if it looks like it did on the day of the photos or the other one? That's on you, right? And say, look, I can only support you in the way that you want to be supported. But to be clear, like, we can't keep paying for cleaners, and we're happy to do what we can, but it has to be something we mutually agree upon, and let's make a plan forward to help you reach your goals. Make it all about him. And the things that he doesn't do, as long as he understands it's going to impact him negatively, then, as they say, that's his shit, right?
Yeah.
Wendy.
Hey,
much said
Sherlock,
everything.
and I just wanted to say, and then after you have the meeting, I would just write him an email and just confirm, just say, oh, thanks for meeting me. And from this meeting, I understood you're going to order the condo docs, boom, like that. So it's in writing, because who knows what his state of mind is at the
Yeah,
time.
I have to put everything in writing with this guy.
Yeah. But I mean, just to confirm that, I just want to follow up with,
Yes,
what we decided.
Gaslighting you and then saying, you never told me this, you're a bad.
Right. Anyway, those are my 2 cents.
Thank you.
So,
Wendy?
so I just wanted to share with you that in California, we pay for everything. So yes, it's $450 for HOA docs, and that's just the seller side. But there are requirements that have to be fulfilled. And one of and everything that Chirag says is on point, and we have to kind of get them as a partnership. One of the things that I do, that I say, and this might be helpful for you and it might not, is I say, the more information we have before we go to market, and we get that information from third-party sources like property inspectors and HOA docs and, inspections and, blah, 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 right? The more information that we have, the better we can price the home. So we're not on the market for very long, right? Like you can word that any way you want, but you're putting information in the hands of the seller so they make the best decisions given all the information. And you can describe it as if we put the house on the market and we don't do a property inspection and we have no idea that there's $20,000 worth of termite work, it's going to drastically change the negotiation if we get a buyer that will buy at the price you list. Right. So you're removing obstacles ahead, making it easier. So people that are distressed, and I'm just going to use that word for your client, distressed in some capacity, can focus that things are better in the future. And I would try and focus it that way because good luck.
Thank you.
You got this.
Thanks.
And this is what these calls should also be like, right? Like it should be interactive, and look, the collaborative experience of all of us together is always greater than our individual parts, right? So look, these are two really good examples. Arash, I can tell you this, if you don't draw a boundary and your wife's just gonna be pissed at you, right? Like why, in her mind, it's like, why is he bringing this into our life? Like you don't need this. I could be wrong in saying that, but you just kind of lay it out there, put your cards on, remember, it's always his choice, ask the questions, everything's in his benefit. And then if he doesn't want to do it, like Colleen, and we always suggest, put it in writing so it's there.
Got it.
Mike, last comment for the day.
So one of the things that I do, Arash, is I'll get people to sign that form that says what they're in control of, what I'm in control of. And one of those things that I started adding on top of the condition of the property for what they're in control of is information about the property, because that's most of the time they control what information we can get. We can look up a lot of stuff on public record, and we certainly do that. But I think a lot of the information they kind of have somewhere, and they can give us as much as they possibly can. HOA docs, obviously an important piece of information that you might not necessarily have the ability to get yourself. So you can kind of refer back to that talking point later. I mean, the purpose is not to say, see, I told you so, this was going to come up but if you have it and say, listen, this is just a component of something that we need in order to get you to your goals. Like, this isn't about me. It's not something I selfishly want just to make your life harder. It's going to get you those higher offers. If people have more information, they can come forward with more confident offers. Just make it about them. But it's something that I started doing, is to have people just sign that form so they are very certain what my expectations of them are, as well as theirs of me.
Well, I love seeing
Thank
how
you.
you morph that. Exactly. That's a good one to add. The information about the property. And I think we all are like mind readers, and some of the stuff, I also just want to end on this note. Please don't be afraid to walk away from bad clients and bad situations. It is just not worth it. And I promise you this, and I can guarantee this, like life, death, and taxes. You take all the bad time, not even all the energy and drama and time you waste talking about these people. The pointless time you spend with these people, if you pick up the phone, you call people you'll guarantee make a lot more money. Right? So, Rosh, if the only feedback I also have for you is, if you see the guy's weird like this from the beginning, don't spend $1 staging his property. Right? Like, staging the property, cleaning the property is a presentation of you and your brand. Right? He's the same kind of guy that will be unreasonable in negotiations and offers and response time. And you can't chase him. Right? So he's like one of those liability clients. So just think about it. Speak with your wife. Let me know what happens. I'm actually very interested in when's your come to Jesus conversation with him?
Probably tomorrow.
Yeah, let me know.
Okay.
All right. All right, guys. Always love my heart. I love you all. I'll see you back here tomorrow at 11:30. And again, if you're in the local area, Justin, I see you here. We have an event here every Wednesday. Or anyone else that's close, come visit. We have bars and people and high tops in the next room. So we're gonna go set up for those of you who are coming, and I will see the rest of you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.